Guys, we've got plenty to talk through in today's video. It's transfer deadline day. We've got all of the midweek matches to go ahead and digest, and we of course have the games at the weekend to go ahead and preview. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Loads going on in the Championship at the moment, and of course I want to get your guys' predictions for the upcoming weekend. As always, if you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, but without any further ado, let's just jump into the action. And starting out with Friday night's match at the Hawthorns, it's West Brom going up against Burnley. An intriguing game. Burnley really starting to get into their groove now, particularly from a goal scoring point of view. It was a good win for them once again in midweek, 2-0 against a pretty resilient Millwall side. And considering that Burnley still have Scott Twine to go ahead and add into the mix with this side that started to score goals in the volume that they have, really promising stuff from Burnley at the start of the season. I thought it might have taken a little bit more time for things to properly gel into place. Heading away to the Hawthorns isn't going to be an easy one, but West Brom have had a somewhat inconsistent start to the season. It was yet another draw for them in midweek. 1-1 played out against Wigan, fell behind in that game. Carl Grant with a tidy finish to level things up, but ultimately they couldn't find that winner, and there's just been one too many of those draws played out for West Brom so far this season. And dare I say it, I think this game may head in a similar direction. West Brom don't tend to lose all too many at home, but Burnley will be a tricky customer. I think I'm going to back a 1-1 draw in this one, with FIFA going at 1-0 Burnley. Next then we head to Ewood Park for Blackburn up against Bristol City. Two good wins for these sides in midweek. Bristol City making it 3 wins on the bounce at Ashton Gate, all by a 2-goal margin as well. 2-0 against Huddersfield. Lovely finish by Semenyo to go ahead and kill that game off in the second half. Away at Blackburn won't be easy though, particularly after how they were able to bounce back after their quite poor run of form, with a real performance and showing away at Blackpool. Now I'm at the disadvantage here of recording this before the deadline goes ahead and shuts, so we're not totally sure what Blackburn side is going to look like coming out the end of that window. Will that last performance of Ben Brereton Diaz against Blackpool be his sort of parting gift with that goal, or will he be sticking around until at least January? So lovely link up between Bradley Dack and Brereton Diaz, and Blackburn probably should have had more than the 1 goal they scored in that game. I don't think there'll be much in it, but maybe with that home advantage, Blackburn may just sneak this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Blackburn. FIFA's going to go 1-1. Don't think there'll be all too much in that game. Next then we go to Kenilworth Road for Luton up against Wigan. Another solid point for Wigan in midweek. A 1-1 draw played out between them and West Brom. They have been very draw heavy so far this season, Wigan, haven't they? 4 draws already. Only Preston North End have drawn more matches than Wigan have in the Championship. For Luton though, it does feel as if they are clicking up through the gears and they are getting back to that side that we sort of associated with last season. Great win for them in midweek, picking up all 3 points away at Cardiff. Bit of drama in at the end there between the two managers as well, Morrison and Jones, with the celebrations on the touchline. I don't think there'll be a great deal in this game with how tight Wigan have made pretty much all their matches so far this season, barring that Burnley game. I just think that maybe Luton edge this one with them getting back up through the gears. I'm going to go 2-1 Luton, but a draw wouldn't massively surprise me here. FIFA's going 1-0 Luton. Next then to the Den for Millwall up against Cardiff. Steve Morrison back at the Den for this one. I don't think there'll be a great deal between these two either. A lot of tightly contested matches. Both sides could certainly do with a win. Millwall without a win now in their last 4, and Cardiff just lacking that extra bit of firepower in the final third to kill off some of the games they've been involved in. As of recording, it seems as if Cardiff could be getting that firepower in with the signing of Callum Robinson, which would be an absolutely brilliant signing for Cardiff, arguably the best bit of business that they've done all window. And as a North End fan, if they do pull that one off, I'll be incredibly jealous. I don't know whether, obviously, if that signing goes through, he will be integrated straight away, though. Millwall tend to keep things tight, and Cardiff just lacking that little bit of sharpness up front. I'm actually going to go for a 0-0 draw in this one, I think, with FIFA going 1-0 Millwall. Next then to Norwich up against Coventry. Good win for Norwich once again in midweek as they continue to climb up the Championship. Left things late, but Hernandez with that last-minute winner looked like some good scenes in the away end. Going up against the Coventry side, who have struggled to get going this season. I was at Coventry in in midweek, and whilst it wasn't an awful performance from Coventry, I actually thought they played a little bit better than they had done previously. They're just lacking that little bit of dynamism that we associated with them last season. Maybe that is the difference between, you know, a Callum O'Hare or someone like that being in that side, but there were a few opportunities where they did get sort of in behind and cause Preston some real problems, hit the crossbar a couple of times in that game as well, but ultimately had nothing to show from it, as Preston sort of did them with that classic sort of championship away performance. I don't think things will get much easier for Coventry in this one either, and I think that I'm going to back Norwich for all 3 points once again. I'm going to go 2-0 Norwich, with FIFA going 1-1 Coventry. Tough start to the season for Coventry here. Next then to Preston up against Birmingham. Finally, Emile Rees is up and running for the season. He came off the bench against Coventry, bagged his first goal of the season, and a much needed win for North End, who still have this unbelievable record 7 games into the season where we're still yet to concede a goal. I did think we scraped it and got a little bit lucky at some points with our midweek game against Coventry, and with how close they went on a couple of occasions, but yeah, massive shout out to that back line and Freddie Woodman, who have been so solid so far this season. I anticipate this one to be another closely contested one. I certainly don't think that we'll be blowing any teams out the water or anything like that, and to be honest, a 0-0 wouldn't surprise me in this game. Birmingham really could do with points on the board, and just to stop this this losing rot at the moment, obviously last minute against Norwich, gutting to lose it in those circumstances, but with North End winning in midweek, I'll just edge us for a 1-0 in this one as well, with FIFA going for a 1-1 draw. Next then we go to Rotherham up against Watford. It was a tough midweek round for Rotherham, who suffered their first loss of the season 3-0 against Sunderland. I don't think there should be all too much of an overreaction from Rotherham based on that result, though, given how competitive they have been in the Championship up until this point. It will be fascinating to see how they bounce back in a game like this, though, against the Watford side, who have so much quality going forward. By no means do I think that this Watford side are anywhere near the sort of finished article yet, but with that star power up front, they just have those game changers. We saw that in midweek against Middlesbrough, great 3 points in the circumstances. We saw João Pedro and Sarr linking up for that first goal, and every game week I see João Pedro, he just gets better and better and better, and if they do keep hold of him past this deadline, that is unbelievable business from Watford, potentially the best they've done all summer actually. And for a prediction in this one, I just think that star power could edge it in Watford's favour here. I'm going to go 2-1 to the away side, with FIFA going 2-0 Watford. Next then to Swansea up against QPR. God, Swansea still yet to really get going for this season, and midweek could have been that result they so desperately needed. Led in that game against Stoke for so long, having taken the lead after just 6 minutes, but that last minute equaliser sinks them once again. And I think that mentally, when you are conceding a lot of last minute goals, it does chip away at you going into this next game against a QPR side who've been looking pretty good for their money recently, particularly when it comes to scoring goals and in the final third. Listen, we all knew when, you know, Chair and Willock were both fully fit and on it and on the pitch together, QPR can cause a whole lot of mayhem, and we saw that in midweek as they put 3 goals past Hull City. Really like the addition of Ethan Laird. I think he's had a terrific impact on this side so far as well. A goal for him in midweek in that 3-1 win against Hull. I think with the form book way things are going, I've got to back an away win here. I'm going to go 2-1 QPR, with FIFA going 1-0 QPR. Next then we had to Reading up against Stoke. In midweek we had the Alex Neil era at Stoke City getting underway with a 1-0 draw played out between them and Swansea City. The last gasp equaliser for Stoke in that one. Does feel as if Neil's sort of feeling out the squad at the moment, seeing the players who can fit into his system, who will work this season and who won't, and it may take a little bit of time for that adaptation period to go ahead. Heading away to Reading in this one, a tough game to call because Reading obviously were on this fantastic run. We all knew that that would come to an end at some point, in the end in quite emphatic style actually, as Sheffield United put 4 goals past them, but I don't think many teams will walk away with much from Bramall Lane this season. And the last time we saw Reading have 4 goals past them. They bounced back with 3 consecutive wins and 3 clean sheets. I don't think there'll be much in this one. Reading have shown a competitive edge in home matches this season especially. I'm going to sit on the fence and go for a draw, I think. 1-1 I'm saying. FIFA's going 1-0 Reading. Next then we go to Huddersfield up against Blackpool. Both sides will be looking to bounce back from defeats in midweek. Huddersfield had that loss against Bristol City and Blackpool had that loss against Blackburn, obviously. We've got the Josh Bowler situation, which will finally be sorted out on deadline day as well. Will he stay? Will he go? That could have quite the influence on Blackpool and whether they see any additions coming in through the door on deadline day. Wasn't Blackpool's finest performance against Blackburn. Actually thought that the away side could have had a few more goals in that game, albeit they did have a shout for a penalty in the second half of that game. Huddersfield, well, they have been scoring goals at home recently. They scored 5 goals across their last 2 home matches. They have been looking particularly quite vulnerable in defensive positions. Obviously, we saw Bristol City take advantage of that in midweek. For a prediction here, I think I'm sitting on the fence and going for a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1er. FIFA also going to agree with me there. Next then to Hull up against Sheffield United. Hull have been plenty of fun in the Championship so far because their results just swing from the dramatics on both ends really. We saw them score 3 one week and then the next week they're conceding 3. It is the team in Hull City who have conceded the most goals this season, going up against the team in Sheffield United who have scored more goals than any other side so far this season. So that should be a really fascinating battle. But Sheffield United are looking like almost a complete package at this point in time. So fluid, so ruthless in the final third, put 4 goals past Reading in midweek as they absolutely dismantled that side. And we have spoken about some of the vulnerabilities in this Hull squad in terms of how many shots they're actually facing per 90. What Hull do have though is dynamism in the final third, and they do have those game changers who can pop up and get you 2 or 3 goals in a match. With that being said, I just think Sheffield United are looking like a well-oiled machine at the moment, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 away victory, with FIFA going 1-0 Sheffield United. And then last up for Middlesbrough up against Sunderland. This wasn't the start to the season that I was expecting to see from Middlesbrough. Just 1 win from their opening 7 matches. Even more frustration with their result in midweek. There were, once again, as we've seen from Borough for the vast majority of their games so far, spells where they looked good, spells where they were on top, but ultimately they were punished by 2 moments of quality from Watford, and with that late winner going ahead and sinking them. It's not going to get much easier in this one with, I'm sure, the atmosphere in the ground. Sunderland will travel well and things like that for this one, and Sunderland themselves have confidence after putting 3 past Rotherham. Massively needed for Sunderland, particularly with that being Tony Mowbray's first game in charge after all the fuss and stuff and complications surrounding Alex Neil and the departure of him. Great way for them to bounce back. Some brilliant goals in that one as well. Ross Stewart with another goal, Clark with a fantastic strike as well. I don't think there'll be much in it between these two, and I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, with FIFA going 1-0 Borough. There we have it though guys, those are my predictions heading into the weekend's games. Do get your thoughts in the comments down below. Be very interested to see which way you guys are swaying for all of these matches. Thank you very much for tuning in today though guys. Make sure to go on and subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.